Autumn hits, the air gets a little colder, and for WNBA fans it means one thing: the season is over and the wait begins. The Las Vegas Aces closed out 2025 on top again, confetti falling, trophy raised, and then suddenly, silence. That final buzzer doesn't just end the finals, it shuts off the lights on elite women's basketball for months. And if you're like most of us who live and breathe this game, that gap feels way too long. But this time, the stars of the WNBA decided they weren't just going to sit around and let all that momentum die out. Instead of vanishing into the offseason, they built something new, something bold, something that keeps high-level women's basketball in the spotlight when the WNBA is on break. That's where Unrivaled comes in. Unrivaled isn't just another league thrown together for content or summer runs. It's a player-driven, player-created professional league that was put together specifically to solve that dead zone in the women's basketball calendar. The idea came straight from two of the biggest names in the game, Breanna Stewart and Napheesa Collier. They wanted a competitive space in the WNBA offseason where players are respected, paid well, and showcased in a way that keeps fans locked in year-round. The concept moved fast. Unrivaled officially launched on May 30th, 2024, and it didn't take long before it stopped being just an idea and became a real, functioning league. The first season tipped off on January 17th, 2025, right when fans were craving action the most. And from day one, it came with something that women's sports rarely get: serious money. Unrivaled made headlines because of its commitment to high salaries for women's professional athletes. That alone separated it from a lot of other off-season ventures that often expect players to show up for exposure instead of real compensation. The debut season set the tone. We watched the first Unrivaled campaign unfold through the winter, capped off on March 17, 2025, when Rose BC was crowned the inaugural champion. Earlier that same year, in February 2025, the league ran its first one-on-one tournament, and one of the founders, Napheesa Collier, walked away with the title. It was a statement. This league wasn't just a side project. The very people who created it were putting their names, their bodies, and their legacies on the line to make it work. Fast forward to now, and Unrivaled is back and bigger. The second season started on January 5th, 2026, and right away we saw the growth. The league expanded from 30 players to 36, pulling in more WNBA talent and giving fans more matchups to obsess over. And this isn't some niche, tiny operation either. On January 30th, Unrivaled set a new attendance record: 21,490 fans packed into an arena in Philadelphia. That number would be impressive for any basketball event, let alone an off-season women's league still in its early years. The championship for this second season is already circled on the calendar, March 4th. That's when we'll find out who takes home the title this time and whether any team can build the kind of dynasty energy we're so used to seeing from squads like the Las Vegas Aces and the WNBA. Until then, though, the league isn't just filling space, it's giving us drama, elite performances, and unfortunately, some serious off-court news that's impossible to ignore. One of the biggest names tied to Unrivaled right now is Los Angeles Sparks forward Rickea Jackson. She's one of those rising stars people have been talking about for a while, and having her in Unrivaled was a big deal. After a rough start to the week for her personally, she was announced as a new addition to the league, the kind of player who could come in and immediately change the competitive balance. For a lot of fans, seeing her join Unrivaled was something to get excited about. A fresh stage, new matchups, and more visibility heading into the WNBA season. But then the news broke about what was going on behind the scenes in her personal life, and everything shifted. Rickea Jackson has been dealing with something no player, no person should have to go through. Her ex-partner, Atlanta Falcons player James Pierce Jr., was arrested in Miami-Dade County after what was reportedly a terrifying situation involving harassment and aggression towards her. According to reports, there were several instances where he rammed her car and tried to block her from reaching a police station. That's not just relationship trouble or a disagreement, that's dangerous behavior. Jackson and Pierce had a relationship that lasted around 3 years. They met at the University of Tennessee, where both were student athletes between 2022 and 2024. At some point, like many people do, Jackson decided to end things. That should have been the end of it, but according to what she told police, it wasn't. In her statement, Jackson was clear and firm. She made it very clear that she wanted him to stay away from her. One line stands out: "Leave her alone." Those 3 words are heavy. They're the words of someone who's not just annoyed or frustrated, but someone who feels unsafe and is trying to protect herself. Instead of backing off, reports say Pierce used another phone number to track her, trying to track her location. Then things escalated from there to the point where he allegedly followed her in his car and crashed into her vehicle multiple times. It's hard to even imagine how frightening that must have been for her, especially as someone whose job requires total mental and physical focus. That's where Unrivaled and this current week come back into the picture. Jackson was set to compete, and the plan was that this league could give her a place to play, reset, and maybe find some normalcy in the middle of everything happening off the court. But this situation became too serious, too consuming to just push aside. Because of everything that's gone on, Rickea Jackson will no longer be competing in the current Unrivaled event. Instead of being on the floor, she has to prioritize her safety, her mental health, and the legal process playing out around her. As much as fans would love to watch her play, this is bigger than basketball. For a professional athlete, stepping away from competition isn't easy, especially when you've just committed to a league. But sometimes life forces that decision on you. This whole ordeal is a harsh reminder of something people don't always think about when they watch these games. These women are not just athletes, they're human beings with real lives, real relationships, and real vulnerabilities. When we talk about women's basketball, we also have to be willing to talk about women's safety and the systems around them. The fact that Rickea had to say leave her alone in an official statement and that it wasn't respected says a lot about why so many women in and out of sports feel they're not always protected even when they speak up. So as much as Unrivaled is about highlight plays and record-breaking crowds, it's also become the backdrop for a much more serious conversation. Hopefully, Rickea Jackson gets the support she needs from the Sparks, from Unrivaled, from the WNBA community, and from those around her personally. And hopefully, the legal process does what it's supposed to do.
Now, while all of this is going on, Unrivaled is still moving forward with one of its biggest and most popular attractions, the one-on-one tournament. If you've watched it before, you know it hits different. In a sport where we're used to 5-on-5 systems, rotations, and schemes, this event strips the game down to its rawest form. One player, one opponent, and a whole lot of pride on the line. The one-on-one event has quickly become one of the main engines of Unrivaled's growth. The first time they ran it, it pulled in serious numbers, and the momentum hasn't slowed down. Recently, the semifinals and final together drew around 377,000 viewers. That's a huge audience tuning in just to watch isolated matchups, and it shows how hungry fans are to see these women showcased as individual talents, not just pieces of larger systems. The format is simple but intense. Games are played to 11 points, or a max of 10 minutes, whichever comes first. That keeps the pace high and the pressure constant. There's no time to ease into anything. If you start slow, you're basically done. For the final, it gets even more dramatic. Instead of just one game, the championship is a best-of-3 series, with each game going to 7 points. It's short, explosive, and demands absolute focus. 1 or 2 defensive stops, 1 hot shooting stretch, and the entire thing can flip. This year's one-on-one event is set on a packed schedule. Round 1 tips off on Wednesday, February 11th, 2026. Then the second round and the semifinals are coming fast on Friday the 13th, which already has its own energy just from the date. The final is locked in for Saturday the 14th. 3 straight days where some of the world's best players will be going at each other over and over. And this isn't just about bragging rights. The prize money is serious. The champion walks away with $200,000. Second place earns $50,000. Third place takes home $25,000. For context, that kind of individual prize check in a women's basketball event is still extremely rare. It's life-changing money for some players and a big financial boost even for stars. That's part of why the intensity level is so high. There's a lot more on the line than just clips for social media. 16 players are in the field, and there are some heavy hitters in the mix. You've got Chelsea Gray, one of the smartest and toughest guards in the game, Aaliyah Edwards bringing strength and versatility, Ray Burrell with her length and smooth offensive game, Arike Ogunbowale, who might be one of the most dangerous isolation scorers in all of women's basketball, Courtney Williams with her energy and swagger, Paige Bakers, a name college fans know well and have been waiting to see consistently at this level, and Kelsey Mitchell, whose scoring ability has never been in question. Imagine some of those potential matchups. Rickea versus Paige, Chelsea Gray trying to outsmart and outshoot someone in a tight game to 11. Aaliyah Edwards using her physicality to punish guards who dare to switch onto her. That's why fans are locked in. In 5-on-5, sometimes star players get trapped in schemes, double teams, or systems that limit what they show. In 1-on-1, there's nowhere to hide and nobody to blame. Every bucket you give up or get is on you. And while Unrivaled is running this huge 1-on-1 event and closing in on its March 4th final, there's another layer of intrigue building that could spill over into the WNBA, Angel Reese. You've probably seen the chatter already. There's talk that a mid-season move inside Unrivaled could open the door for Angel Reese to set up a major return with the Chicago Sky. Nothing is official yet, and we're not going to jump into wild speculation, but the idea alone is fascinating. Reese is one of the most polarizing and talked about figures in women's basketball right now. Any move she makes, whether it's an Unrivaled or the WNBA, instantly becomes a headline. The thought of her using this off-season league as kind of a launch pad or reset button before heading back to the Sky adds even more intrigue to every transaction, every trade, and every team shuffle inside Unrivaled. Fans aren't just watching the games, they're watching the chessboard. How do these unrivaled rosters, partnerships, and rivalries carry over emotionally and competitively into the WNBA season? If a mid-season trade in this league really does help set up Angel Reese's next chapter in Chicago, you can bet it'll be one of the most talked about arcs heading into the summer. So when you zoom out, what do we have right now? The WNBA season is over, the Las Vegas Aces are still sitting on the 2025 throne, and yet women's basketball hasn't slowed down. Unrivaled is filling arenas in cities like Philadelphia, drawing massive online audiences, handing out big prize money, and giving players more control over their careers. It's also forcing the larger basketball world to pay closer attention to what women's basketball can look like when it's funded and marketed the right way. At the same time, it's a reminder that everything we see on the court is connected to real lives off the court. Rickea Jackson's situation is heartbreaking and infuriating, and it puts a spotlight on the realities women athletes face that go far beyond the final score. While we hype the 1-on-1 tournament and speculate about Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky, it's important not to lose sight of players who need support and protection just as much as they need contracts and exposure. Unrivaled is still young, but in a short time, it has already given fans a lot, a way to stay locked into high-level hoops when the WNBA season is done, a new platform for stars and rising talent, and a glimpse of what the future of women's basketball could look like when the players themselves are in the driver's seat. If you follow WNBA news, women's basketball gossip, trades, and off-season drama, this is the moment to pay attention. The 1-on-1 event is about to tip off. The league final is coming March 4th. Rickea Jackson's situation is unfolding in real time, and the Angel Reese Chicago Sky conversation isn't going away anytime soon. Let me know in the comments, who's your pick to win the 1-on-1 crown, and how do you feel about Unrivaled as an off-season league? And what are your thoughts on how the basketball community should support players like Rickea Jackson when situations like this come to light? Make sure you're subscribed and locked in, because as this Unrivaled season plays out and we inch closer to WNBA tip-off, there's going to be a lot more to break down.